So today I woke up on what really seemed like the right side of the bed. I just feel more aware and much more comprehensive of everything that's going on around me. And even though we are going through some really unprecedented times, it's it's really no wonder that the people that you interact with have such a big impact on who you are and what you think, and being able to give you sort of a confidence to be yourself and to have this natural flow about how you are. I've been in this Airbnb for the last couple of days, and I've been quarantining myself ever since I came back into the States. And it has been such a mixed bag. Some moments have been easier than others. Some moments have been more filled with thought and doubts and insecurities than others. But for the most part, it's so hard to complain being in this position of where I am. I was talking to my friend earlier about how there's so many people out there right now that are being so much more affected by this than just simply having to stay at home. You know, like we think of these things as being so difficult, especially in times of so much uncertainty. And I believe that the uncertainty is probably my biggest, that's my biggest weakness, is the not knowing the future, because there is this thing about whether this is the new norm or whether this is going to continue. How will it turn out from a social perspective? What will change that might not change back? This is as close to an apocalyptic phase as we've seen in this lifetime. And I think it's so important to remind ourselves, not just to be positive, remind each other as well, not just to stay positive, but also just to focus on the things that matter. The things that don't matter are just being created in order to create controversy, in order to create a he said, she said narrative, in order to divide more people. And right now, our society, especially in the Western world, has already been so fragile for the last couple of years that it's hard to imagine dividing people on more issues or on things that are not significant. So with that in mind, I think it's important for us to remind each other of what really matters, and remind each other that right now is the first time in our lifetimes that we have ever faced a situation where everybody collectively all over the world is being affected by this. Right now is not a time of a social issue of us versus them, or these people versus those people. This is a time when we can come together against this thing that ironically, we can't even see it. It's this virus that is beyond our vision. It's something that's so incredibly insightful that humans can be affected by this thing that nobody could even see with their naked eye. That in itself is humbling, and it reminds us that we are not the strongest force in the universe. It reminds us of the nature that we come from, and how the nature that we come from, that we are a part of, can speak back and can affect us in different ways, just like we're speaking to it every day, and maybe not so kindly in so many aspects. It's such a wake-up call. It's such a wake-up call that something invisible can make us all feel this terror, uncertainty, and can shut down our entire way of life. It's incredibly humbling, and I find it to be, beyond all the fears and all the insecurities and the uncertainty, I find it being so fascinating. And it's most fascinating watching our reaction as individuals and also as a collective group of people, whether they're us as human beings, or as Americans living in this country, or as people that I've met traveling in Portugal or from different parts of the world. It's incredible. This is uncharted territory that we've never ever come across as a species. And we're being tested on our reaction with fear, with uncertainty, with a complete change, a complete turnaround in our lives. We're being challenged monetarily, economically. We're being challenged socially. We're being challenged in more ways than we can count. And right now, we might not be able to change the world, or else I would imagine that most of us would choose to change coronavirus not being a thing in our reality. But we can change the world by just composing ourselves and coming to the reality that we are inferior beings that are being affected by our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions. And the more that we allow the fear to spread through us, the more that it will disable us from being able to fight off this virus and from being able to protect one another, even just by words of encouragement or by just knowing that we are there for one another as a species. Part of what makes me the most sad is the examples that we have for this type of protection. The only examples we really have is the news and the people that are in the limelight, whether those people are celebrities or whether they're social media influencers or whether they're our political government. It's all their voice magnifies and it becomes the norm. It subconsciously seeps into our minds and becomes more and more of what we think about and of what we're concerned about. And you can see it in the social state of the world, especially on social media right now. I see big figures posting things like, oh, about China's numbers, or what if they're true, or what if they're not true. And it's like, why? That's all I gotta ask is why? Why is this even significant? Why does it matter? This is not a race by any means, and it's definitely not something to be proud of. Who has more numbers? These are just humans coexisting in a different place that we can have any opinions we want on whether it's China or whether it's any other country in the world. But at the end of the day, we have a benefit and a cost as human beings. We trade goods and value and life, and we exchange things to keep each other alive, no matter who has the numbers, who doesn't have more numbers, or who's got it under control or not. We are not in competition with any other nation but ourselves. We are just in our own way, especially being the proud Americans we can be in being able to maintain a safe society and a Western society that attops other things. Let's not let the political conversation take over and make us feel like we are eternal. We are not eternal. No human on this planet is eternal. We are just here to live out this experience and coexist with one another and be able to help each other with the resources that we have, even especially in times of need like this, especially in desperation time and in time where there's so much uncertainty. This is a virus that we know barely anything about. And it's mind-blowing that we're all competing to overcome this thing that we barely know anything about in such a condescending way or in such a competitive way as if one of us has it figured out. But really, the truth of the matter is that all of us are delusional. That's all I got for today.